Okay, then let us continue with the next topic.
Okay, I'll start off by summarizing last class. So last class we learned about the theory of abhav, which has been propagated by the Nyayavadis and is refuted by Sri Mahaprabhuji. Sri Mahaprabhuji believes in Avirbhav and Tirobhav, which means to reveal and to conceal, and refutes the Nyayavadis' theory of Utpatti and Nash, which is creation and destruction. And so this means that Sri Mahaprabhuji accepts Satkaryabad, which means that nothing can be absent, as the karya is, which means that the karya or the effect is real. When the Nyayavadis accept Asatkaryabad, which means that the absence can occur because the karya or effect is asat or not real. And so Asatkaryabad accepts that the absence is possible before the production of an object, while Sri Mahaprabhuji counters this by asking how anything can be formed from absence, because in order for something to be created, a base material needs to exist. And so if the base material does not exist, then nothing can exist like it currently is. And so this is why Sri Mahaprabhuji refutes the concept of Asatkaryavad, because he does not believe that anything can be created out of absolute absence. Is there anything else I need to add?
Fine. Read the next one from Satkaryavad.
Satkaryavad, Avirbhav, the doctrine of effect and existent cause. The belief that before its production, karya, the effect, is not existing and therefore it is false, is falsified by Mahaprabhuji after proposing the theory of Satkaryavad. The existence of karya effect may not be there in the form of karya before its production, but it cannot be believed that it was totally non-existent. According to Sri Vallabhacharya, karya, the effect, holds its existence in the form of cause before its production. This means that karya, the effect, is existing even before the production in some other form. This is called Satkaryavad, or the doctrine of effect that is existent. Satkaryavadis believe that as waking up, sleeping, childhood, adolescence, youth, and adulthood, etc., are the stages of the body, similarly karya, karan, effect, and the cause are two states of sadvastu, the object that exists. In the state of sleeping, the body becomes inactive, and in the state of being awake, the body becomes active. Similarly, as karya, the effect, remains in the state of cause before its production, it cannot be experienced actively in the form of effect. But when the effect is manifested, it can be experienced. For example, the butter is the effect and the buttermilk is the cause. The butter is already there in the buttermilk, and hence by churning it manifests. If the butter lacks in the buttermilk, how so much we churn it, no butter can be had of it. As we've already seen, sesame seeds and oil, the seed and the tree, etc., are the examples of karya, karan, bhav, the concept of the effect and the cause. From these examples, we should understand the precept of Satkaryavad. According to it, every effect before it is produced holds the existence in the form of a cause. We may churn the water how much as we can, but we can't have any butter from it, as no butter exists in it. The object which does not exist, or which is asat, non-existent, cannot be produced. Here a question can be raised against Asatkaryavadis regarding their doctrine. It is argued that while sowing the seeds, there is a lack of plants in the field, or plants are asat, non-existent. But is not there a lack of all the objects and persons like horses, asses, camels, etc., too, leaving aside the seeds, soil, manure, and the water? When all these things are lacking, nothing but plants will manifest from the seeds. This itself confirms that the tenet of Satkaryavad, that karya, the effect, holds its existence in the form of cause before its production, before coming into being, the doctrine being established, Nyayavada's principle of production is falsified. Utpattivadis believe that when an object which does not exist at all comes into existence, it is called utpatti, or the production. Having followed Satkaryavad, now we can say that an object which does not exist cannot come into being. Hence, according to the doctrine of Sri Vallabhacharya, the object is not produced, but it is manifested. It comes into being not by production, but by the revelation or manifestation. Avirbhav means to come into the state of Karya, the effect, a tree of an object that has remained in the state of Karan, a seed which is the cause. When any object that is in the state of Karan, the cause, or a seed, results in the state of Karya, the effect or a tree, it is said to have Avirbhav, the manifestation. Avirbhav is a divine potency of Brahma. Through this potency, Brahma manifests what is unmanifested and unrevealed, what is subtle is made gross, and what is inactive is made active. If the object which exists in its subtle or inactive form cannot be produced into its gross or active form, how can any karya or effect be produced? Hence, only that object which exists can manifest, can become revealed or avirbhut. So to summarize, Satkaryavad is the belief that absence is possible before the production of an object, and this is what Asatkaryavad is, but this is refuted by Sri Mahaprabhuji, because even though the karya or effect cannot be seen before the production of an object, it cannot be said that it was absent, because some of the attributes of the effect are present in the cause before the production of the final product. And this refers to Satkaryavad because nothing can exist as the karya or effect is sat or real. And so the only reason why the effect cannot be experienced is because it is remaining in the causal form. However, when the effect is manifested, it can be experienced. So for example, the buttermilk is the effect, and the butter is the effect, and the buttermilk is the cause. And the butter is already present in the buttermilk. The butter is just becoming revealed through the churning process. And so if there was no butter present in the buttermilk, no matter how much the buttermilk was churned, the butter would not appear. And so because of this, Asatkaryavad can be refuted, because if there is no effect present in the cause, the effect cannot occur. And this would mean that the absence of any material can never be possible. And so this is how Satkaryavad is proven to be true, because the effect would always exist in the cause. And so then people who believe in Utpatti think that above leads to existence, or like not something can be created out of absence, or the Utpatti production of the object. But Sri Mahaprabhuji believes that an object cannot be produced, it can only be manifested, and this relates to Avirbhav, because something comes in the state of the effect, for example, because, for example, the effect of the tree was already present in the seed, it just had to be manifested in order to be shown.
So as we learned yesterday, that the topic of Asatkaryavad was accepted by Nyaya, and as according to Nyaya, an object is created out of the absolute absence of that object. But as we understood before, that Mahaprabhuji doesn't accept this theory. So as per Mahaprabhuji, nothing new is being created, but the only material which was already present in the form of the cause is coming out as an effect. Nothing else is getting changed. So, for example, that sleeping, childhood, adolescence, youth and adulthood, these are, as they are the states of the body. That, for example, if I am sleeping, the body becomes inactive. I mean, everything is going on around me, but I won't be able to feel anything. But when I'll wake up, I will be aware about all the happenings. So as our body goes through all these stages, same way, the cause also changes itself into the effect, and it remains in the state of the cause before its production. For example, the butter and the buttermilk example is given. That as there is butter in the buttermilk, and therefore when we are churning the buttermilk, we can get the butter out of it. But for example, nowadays we get the pasteurized milk from the dairies. Now there they just take out all the attributes of the milk through which we can get the butter. It means there is no sort of attribute in the milk by which we can get the butter. So if we are making buttermilk out of such milk, how much ever you churn the milk, you won't be able to get the butter out of it because it is not present inside it. But as we are getting the butter as the effect by churning process, it means that buttermilk consists of the butter. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get the butter. So same way, other examples are given that, for example, we are making oil out of the sesame seeds, but as the oil is present inside it, therefore we are able to get it. For example, like a nyaya, if we accept the absolute absence, then how come the oil comes out of the sesame seed? And if it is coming out of the one seed, in spite of being absolutely absent in it, can't it come out of any other seed? It means, for example, let me take the seed of mango or let me take the seed of a papaya. Will I be able to get the oil out of it? It is not possible because it is not present inside it. So this is how Mahaprabhu ji wants to explain that the object which does not exist or which is asat or non-existent, it cannot be produced. The object which is having absolute absence, it cannot be produced. So in the form of the cause, as the object is present, therefore we are able to get it out of the material as an effect. And therefore Mahaprabhu accepts the theory of Satkaryavad, in which the karya, the effect, it is existing in the form of the cause before it is produced. So by the process we manifest it out of its causal form. So Utpattivadis, it means the Nyayavadis, they believe that when an object which does not exist at all, it comes into existence, it is called Utpatti, the new production. But according to Sri Mahaprabhu ji, nothing is Utpatti, it is just revelation or Avirbhav or manifestation. It means one which was already present but was hidden. It just comes out in the form of an effect. So only the state changes, nothing new is being produced. This is known as Satkaryavad. It means the karya or the effect is being created out of the existent material, not out of absolutely absent material.
Should I keep reading?
No, let me ask. Do we have any other question? Fine. Can anyone else other than you summarize the topic?
I can.
Yes. Your voice is quite slow. Please try to speak louder.
Yeah, so yesterday you had explained the Asatkaryavad theory, which is propagated by the Nyaya school of Vedanta, and today you explained how Mahaprabhuji opposes Asatkaryavad by proposing the theory of Satkaryavad. So Satkaryavad explains that the karya produced from the karan is sat and not asat, since if the material cause was asat, then nothing can be produced out of it, and the effect will ultimately be also asat. But if the material is sat, then the product must also be sat, like you gave in the example of the sesame seed and the buttermilk. So because the oil existed within the sesame seed, the oil was able to come out of it. But if Nyayavad said that, like, because they accept the concept of pragabhav, satyabhav, and pragabhav basically means that if the object, like before the object is created, it remains absent. So the oil did not come out of the sesame seed, then it would mean that the oil did not exist within the seed, and if you open the sesame seed, then the oil will not come out of it, since the oil was not present. But that's not the case, since the oil does come out of it. So the oil cannot be asat. It must be sat. And also in the example of the buttermilk, the butter, if the butter did not exist in the buttermilk, then we would, however much we churn the buttermilk, we won't be able to get butter. So Mahaprabhuji explains that the material is sat, and so is the effect. And that's why he accepts the concept of how the material cause transforms into the effect without changing. It just changes its state. So the material cause is still existent in the effect, but it's not completely absent. So it's only the concept of avirbhav and tirobhav, but it's not about utpatti and nash.
Nice. So what Mahaprabhuji wants to explain is that the one which was hidden in its causal form is manifested in the form of an effect. That's the only process. And as it is manifesting in the form of an effect, therefore we are saying that it is avirbhav, or it is manifestation, and not the new production, or nothing new is being created which was absolutely absent. So for Mahaprabhuji, this is manifestation or avirbhav, and not abhav, or the absolute absence of any material, or nothing new is being created. Fine. You may continue with the next one.
Brahma is Satchidanand, Satchit and Anand, existence, consciousness, and the bliss. When Brahma wishes to manifest the creation, he manifests through his attributes of Sat and Chit, the animate and inanimate creation, and plays sport in it as a spider weaves a web out of its own saliva and lives in it. This is called the Avirbhav of the universe, the manifestation or revelation of the universe from Brahma. And when Brahma wishes to wind up the creation, he merges the whole creation inside his own self, as the spider withdraws saliva in its own self, as the spider winds up the web and goes away upwards, or as a tortoise withdraws its limbs like hinds, legs, head, etc., and contains them in its own body yet unseen. This is called tirobhav, or the concealment or disappearance of the creation. The process of avirbhav and tirobhav of the universe goes on incessantly, like the day and the night. From this it becomes clear that the manifestation or avirbhav too, the universe exists in a state of Kara and cause, or as the such existence characteristic of Brahma. Avirbhav, or the manifestation of the universe, continues to happen again and again. Hence, that philosophical doctrine becomes clear that despite the deluge of the universe, what happens is not the destruction of the universe, but only tirobhav, the disappearance or the concealment. The universe is karya, the effect, caused out of Brahma, and is the form of Brahma. Certain doubts arise even after understanding that this, or as under, Brahma is endless and all attributes of Brahma are divine. Hence the worldly attributes of birth and death, insignificance, distinction, goodness, badness, minus, etc., are not there in Brahma. Why are then the worldly attributes stated above are experienced in the universe that is manifested out of Brahma himself? Again, as the gold ornaments appear of the nature of gold, then why does the universe we live in doesn't appear alike the nature of Brahma, even though Brahma himself is evolved in the form of the universe? To understand the answer to both the above-mentioned questions, it is necessary to understand Vyamohika Maya is the power of Brahma. So to explain this, it means that when Brahma wishes to create or reveal this universe, it is called Avirbhav, which means that he is just showing it. And then when he wants to destroy this universe, it is called Virabhav, which means that he is concealing it. And so, for example, so when he wishes to create the universe, he just merges, or when he wishes to create the universe, he just does it out of his attributes of Sat and Chit. And so this way he creates all the animate and inanimate objects from the universe. And when he wishes to conceal it, he just merges the entire creation within himself. And you can look at the example of a spider who takes his web and eats it again, and so just like that, the web is merged within the form of the spider. And so just like that, the process of Avirbhav and Virabhav of the universe just keeps on going on day and night. And so this would mean that this is having Avirbhav and Virabhav is just is the nature of Brahma. And so destruction and creation does not happen. It's just creation and destruction does not occur. It's just the universe is being revealed and concealed. And so certain doubts can arise about this process, because even though Brahma has created this universe and Brahma is divine, a question can arise that if Brahma is divine, then why is there pain, suffering, goodness, badness in this universe? And to explain this question, we can also look at the Vyamohika Maya as the power of Brahma.
So as we understood the concept of Avirbhav and Tirobhav, here this concludes the topic, that as we understood that Brahma has the three attributes of Sat, Chit and Anand, in which the Sat means existence, the Chit means consciousness, and the Anand means the unlimitedness or the eternal bliss of Brahma. Now, the Brahma, when he wants to manifest the creation, the world, he manifests through his two attributes of Sat and Chit, the animate and inanimate creation, and plays the sport in the form of the universe. The patent example for explaining this process is given in the example of the spider and the web. So as the spider creates the web out of his own saliva, he lives in the same web, and when he wants to destroy the web, again he absorbs the whole saliva and the web gets into its form. So the same way, as nothing else other than the spider is being used in creating the web, same way the whole universe comes into existence from the Sat and Chit attribute of Brahma, and therefore it is known as Avirbhav, or the manifestation or revelation of the universe from Brahma. So this means that when, for example, in the example of a tortoise, we are not able to see the limbs of the tortoise, but when the tortoise wants to protect itself or it wants to move itself, then it reveals those limbs, and when it is done with the activity, it again just hides the limbs and we are not able to see it. So same way, when Bhagavan wants to create the universe, he just reveals the manifests or the Avirbhav of the universe is done out of the Sat and Chit attribute of Brahma. And when Brahma wants to hide the whole universe in his form, he wants to conceal it, at that time again he absorbs all the sentient and insentient objects of this universe in his Sat and Chit attribute. So we want, after that we are not able to see the whole universe in front of us. But actually the universe is not lost. It is not the Pragbhav and Pradvansa Bhav. It means it is not the absolute absence of the universe before it is created. And same way, it is not even the absolute nash or destruction of the object after it is being destroyed. So it is just the tirobhav, it means the concealment. When we don't want to show something, we just hide it, as the tortoise is hiding his own limbs, and we won't be able to see those. So same way, even Bhagavan conceals everything in his Sat and Chit attribute, and therefore we won't be able to see what is going on. So technically the Brahma is endless, and all the attributes of Brahma are divine. So the worldly attributes like birth and death, insignificance, distinction, or something is good, something is bad, or minus and thiness, etc., are not present in Brahma, and therefore what is expected is that how all these attributes are manifested in the universe. For example, the only attributes which are in Brahma are supposed to be revealed, but how such attributes which are not visible in Brahma are coming in the form of the universe? So to answer this topic, we'll be learning the topic of Vyamohika Maya, the process in which Brahma creates the universe, and what is the role of Maya in the process of the creation. We'll be going with this in the next week. Let us conclude today's topic here. What we learned today is the conclusion of the topic of Avirbhav and Tirobhav, the manifestation and the concealment of the universe. So read the above topic properly and let me know if there are any more questions. In the next week we'll be taking those. This is quite an important topic. Without understanding this properly, we can never understand the philosophy of Mahaprabhuji. So try to understand this carefully. If there is any doubt, confusion, we'll be taking those in the next week.